Now, here's your hosts, the League Dad, Kevin, Mitchell, and Alistair.
What's up, gamers, and welcome to another episode of the All In Podcast. I am the League Dad, and today I'm joined by my friends and co-hosts Kevin and Mitchell. Unfortunately, Alistair has that thing called class, which, he's being a good student, I guess. So he can't actually make it today, but I'm sure he'll be tuning in and saying all his thoughts as we're talking. But, hey, glad to have you guys here. I think we need to just jump right in because there's been a lot of drama going on. And, before we even get to the actual LCS stuff, we have to address this because there's been so much chatter. And if you guys have been around any of the league scene at all, then you've probably seen the drama with Letigress and the whole segment of TSM and the drama between TSM and Doublelift, really more like Reggie and Doublelift, and how a lot of the community did not like that segment, thought it was pretty cheap to try to build up a storyline there since 100 Thieves did play TSM. And then it goes on and Doublelift responds in a video, I think appropriately. He says, the segment is kind of cringe, but, I don't have anything against the players there now. It was just against, the old guard, the old management pretty much. And so it seems like it's okay. Well, then Letigress goes and puts on an apology, on Twitch. He makes a twit longer about it and, basically saying that she apologizes, but that at the end, she kind of puts this little segment in of that she gets a lot of backlash and all this stuff. And overall, it's a decent apology. She apologizes for it, whatever. And then the real kicker is that Doublelift out of nowhere comes swinging and replies to her tweet. And basically, he says this verbatim. I'm going to read it. He says, "Apologize to everyone who experienced verbal abuse and workplace harassment, then remove the useless straw man where you still see yourself as the victim, and this might actually resemble an apology." So he comes out swinging for apparently no reason, uses the word straw man incorrectly, and basically just kind of, because he does have a lot of fans, he has a lot of influence, and so if anything, it might cause more vitriol towards Letigress after what's already seemed like a resolved issue. They get it. It was wrong. They try to move forward, but then this just kind of stirs it back up. So that's pretty long-winded, but that's what happened. So I got to get your thoughts on this. What do you, how do you want to chime in on this whole situation? So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this, so I have to be a little careful how I say it. I would say this is, I'll start, I guess, a little hot. I would say this is a net good for Letigress's career and maybe for the LCS broadcast. Now, that sounds weird, so let me explain. This actually drums up attention. Whoever has discussed an in-between segment between games, good or not, who has ever cared to watch or see a clip of it? We basically haven't talked about it unless we're talking about the broadcast quality, right? So that's that. However, obviously, I think this is her actual statement on the broadcast, the monologue she made, was tone deaf. She delivered it wrong. I think there is a world you can deliver this and be a lot more solemn about it, a lot more serious, a lot more understanding. I think if they put Jat in that place or someone else who actually, was there when this happened, was there at the beginning of LCS, yeah, it would be at least more well received. We might say that's kind of weird, but at least that would be better. And then the last thing I'll say for my intro is that I think Double's response is inappropriate, and I'll go into it later after Mitch gets his chance.
Yeah. Where to go? I don't know. It's pretty weird. This whole situation was pretty weird. I don't. It seems a little overblown, but also it's like.
We like to do this though. This is NA. We like to overblow things. Come on, man.
I guess I understand where Doublelift is coming from and why he gave that response. Because it's like he doesn't feel like Letigress or LCS. They're like they're the LCS. They're like the company. They should get all the harsh feedback and criticism. If you mess something up like that, it's really damaging to everybody who's involved in their careers and their livelihoods. So I guess you can kind of see it like that. It's like they have no control over the narrative, and if someone is going to just start talking stuff about you, the only thing you can do to retaliate is to just talk about it on Twitter. And I mean, I'm reading through the apology on the twit longer, and it was I don't know if she was victimizing herself, but it wasn't like a full on like this is my bad. She said I'm sorry, and then she said she got pitched the idea, and then she's just agreed to go with it. And then yeah, the actual segment was very tone deaf. It's I don't know. It's Doublelift had a very knee jerk response. I think it was a little the words were harsh, but I think the sentiment I understand. Like, what the hell, dude? You're just throwing me under the bus. I just came back to the LCS. Everyone's been shitting on me since I came back to the LCS. I'm kind of sick of it. Um, yeah,
I think part of
sucks.
it too is like, so then I would see things like saying, well, if it was a different caster, they wouldn't get that same kind of response from Doublelift or even from the community in general, trying to say that, and that the backlash is more so because it's Letigress and nobody likes Letigress, and then people are saying women are getting discriminated, and so it starts bleeding into a whole big kind of
Yeah,
narrative
that
of like, basically like this whole polarizing, because she hasn't had the best relationship or best image in the eyes of a lot of the community. I think people are like, look, this is not me saying this like out of like personally, but I think the sentiment, I could be wrong, you guys tell me if I have the wrong take on it, but it seems like a lot of the sentiment from many community members is that she's got that job for diversity, for women hire, but her actual talent is not up to par, especially when it comes to casting. And yet there she is. And we also have people like Pastry Time not casting, or Dash not there. And so I think that might be some of the sentiment. So I got to, just insert that, and then you guys go ahead and take it back and let me know your thoughts from that.
I mean, on that topic, I would say when she was hired, the one thing that I did notice is that she actually seemed like she was a fan of the game. Like she might not know a lot about the game, but she was actually like one of the few people who were enthusiastic about LCS. And like if you remember the broadcast at the time, they had so many analysts and so many people, and a lot of people just felt like they were phoning in. They were there for a job. Some of them have been there for a while, like Mark Z, who I actually do watch content of, and I watch Hotline League. He seemed really bored and seemed really like tired of LCS and like kind of like shitting on it all the time, right? Which is fine if you're entertaining about it, but he's improved since then. But at the time, there was a big trough in excitement in the league. This was when everyone was franchise. We're getting to swing of things, and the segments were getting worse. So I get why she was hired. She also did time in like I think she came from Smite or something, and she also did amateur league or like tier 2 stuff apparently. So like I think in that sense, I don't think it's a diversity hire. Like you actually did go through the gauntlet. You weren't just picked up out of nowhere. Like I've been watching esports for like 14 years now. There were definitely people who just went to an event, didn't even know the esport. Like they didn't know what they were like hosting for, whatever. So in that sense, I
mm,
think that's fine. I think for her, what's her issues are like she can't build a fan base because she's she's been thrown around to like 6 different roles. She's interviewed it, she's hosted, she's been on like whatchamacallit, been on the cast. Like she just keeps gets thrown around to different places, and it looks like they're just trying to slot her in everywhere. She needs to stop agreeing to do everything and start figuring out like what does she like and then improve on it. Because when Avali joined the broadcast, she wasn't that good. Honestly, she was kind of cringe. And
Yeah.
then I started liking her a lot more after she got better at what she was doing, right? Which was interviewing people, just getting to know the players, doing fun segments. I don't think that Letigress has gone through any of that, which is why she's getting the fame that she is.
yeah. I am going to kind of disagree a little bit. I mean, I think I see where you're coming from and agree with aspects. I think I don't agree with is I don't feel like she knows what's going on in League of Legends that much when she's casting at least. Interviews, I mean, she's asking about team dynamics a lot and like player thoughts, and like that's a bit different, but definitely when she's casting, I don't feel like she has any idea what's going on that much. Like she
Well, to be fair, Kevin did say that she was a fan of the game, not necessarily that
Yeah.
she knows a lot. So
Typical
there's a
fan
difference. Yeah.
behavior.
So maybe
Yeah.
she's a fan of the game.
Yeah.
I don't know if I get that I sense either.
Sure.
I
Okay.
get the sense that she's actually has a lot of energy and she's there to do a show, but I don't know if she's like passionate about League of Legends. If she is, she doesn't show it and I don't
Yeah.
see it
That's
in my
fair.
opinion. But um I do honestly, it maybe it's tinfoil hat. Maybe I'm just cynical, but I do think she's a diversity hire. Like there was a big noticeable change how LCS used to be all white males, and then we got like a and then we got all the diversity hires all in the last 2 to 3 years. It was Prismal, Raz, Emily, Rand, Letigress, and now Rafa. Like, and then we fired 3 white male men. I mean, it seems like it. I mean, you follow the breadcrumbs. I don't know. Maybe they happened to find the people who weren't white males and hired them, but I think they are actually intentionally doing diversity hires.
Yeah.
And my hot take, it's not a hot take, is like I don't know if they're like very good. Like I mean we're all diverse. I mean Alistair's not here, right? We're all Asian dudes. There's not a single Asian guy.
Admit it.
Alistair's
We're-
Asian. Wait, Alistair's not Asian?
Yeah,
What?
he's
He's not Asian?
I know, it's crazy. He's got the Korean mechanics, but he's not.
He's more Korean than all of us.
Yeah, right.
But like genuinely, like it's either the people they picked or the way LCS has decided to handle the broadcast, but they have not been implemented well at all. Like Raz and Emily are okay because I think they do a lot of other content and they're on the analyst desk, so they don't really bother us that much. But like this, you know, Letigress and Rafa and Prismal and whoever else I may have missed, they have all not really hit the mark in the broadcast. And I'm not blaming the person. I think it's maybe partly the person's fault, but mostly the production's fault. They don't know what to do with them, right? They know what
Yeah.
to do with their old people that they've had on for a while. So that's just my take on it. I don't really feel the love from
Yeah, I
our
think too, part of it is
hires.
like, yeah, I mean, if you say that, which, you know, brave on you for saying that, because
Yeah.
it's a decent opinion, but you put that on Twitter, you're gonna get flamed to pieces, right? Just because, hey, look, Riot has not had the best image when it comes to, like, you know, you talk about the sexual harassment cases. They haven't had the best image when it comes to diversity stuff. And so, look, I'm not saying diversity hiring is bad. Like I'm for it, right? Like obviously
Yeah.
I'm a person of color, but
Yeah.
the thing is like the talent that they've gotten in there to me doesn't seem to match, you know, what we're used to and the quality. And that's what ultimately I'm after as a fan, is I want quality no matter, you know, whoever it is. Like I'm glad they're trying to put more diversity in there, but give me something that's entertaining, someone who knows their stuff. And to be fair, like I wasn't a big fan of Emily Rand in the beginning just because of her style or whatever, but I do think she puts in the work. That girl really does research, and she really does, and not just our region, but regions all over the place. And
Yeah,
so when
she
I
watches
listen
the game a lot. You can
a
tell.
lot, you can
Yeah,
tell.
she
And so
watches it a lot.
for me, like I appreciate that. And so maybe like her style or her voice may not be the thing I'm most, you know, excited about. I do listen to her because I think she's actually put in the work and the time to listen to things and to watch things that I haven't had the time to do. And so she digests that information. And so in that case, like, yeah, that's great. But Letigress, to me, like her casting, I've said this before, her voice just doesn't mesh well with my ears when it comes to her casting. But I will say I have liked her interviews. You know, the segment thing didn't hit the mark for me, but I think her interviewing was fine. But I think Kevin mentioned it, like she just hasn't found the niche, or they keep putting her in places where she doesn't really match well. And I think if she would just stick to her guns and say, look, I might want to cast, but I think I fit better in interviewing or something like that. She should stick to a spot where, you know, it would suit her strengths. And, you know, again, like, I don't know if people will find that offensive, but that's my opinion on her.
I mean, it's entertainment. It's not about like everyone gets equals rights. It's just in terms of like opportunities here. It's about where you're best suited, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with her trying everything and then starting to focus on her. You mentioned
Sure.
Emily Rand. She was not good when she started. I watched her when she was LPL podcasts all the time. When she came over, she was bad on camera. And now she has like a very good fan base. Like there's a solid group of people who will give her appreciation posts and will just say positive things when she shows up. And she deserves that because she worked for it. And I was okay when Primal was X Primal, you and Rafa, when all these people joined. I'm fine with that. What I really want is LCS to respect the people they're hiring. You need to hold them to standards and make sure they're improving. Emily improved noticeably. Mark Z actually improved. He was fine. He got worse and then he improved. That's fine. If you hold your people to standards, you're doing right by them, right? I'm okay with like diversity hires or whatever that we want to claim it is, but if you're not respecting these people because you're actually making them look worse as like protected class, if you just like let them coast, right? Or not even let them coast, just say they're doing fine when you're actually like objectively seeing, or not, you're subjectively seeing the community backlash, you're seeing bad feedback, and you can't just like, maybe some of that is driven by their race, color, whatever, gender, but some of that is legitimate criticism, and you need to be able to distill that and tell these people how they can improve, right? If we coddle people, it's going to be very difficult for them to gain more respect in the community. You can't force respect, especially not online.
Yeah, and this is where I'm gonna go more into, I guess, Letigress a little bit, in that she was hyping up the monologue for like
Oh yeah.
days beforehand, and that scares me. I don't know. That's like she thought it was a banger. All of LCS thought it was a banger. So like that's just not that's like a whole LCS problem, right? Like we're talking about
Yeah.
like them being tone deaf in terms of just this monologue, but you think like them being tone deaf in terms of maybe how they support their minority hires too. Like this seems like it's just like a really big systemic issue with LCS, right? They're really tone deaf with the whole changing the schedule thing and the last minute change back to 2 p.m. from 12 p.m. Like all this stuff is very like feels like they don't know what the community wants. They don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And here we are on a podcast, just three random dudes, and like we're pretty in tune. We think we know what the community wants to do, and then it happens, and then people are happy, and then when something we think is not going to be great happens and it's bad, everyone's unhappy. We're like, who would have thought? Like
I know.
maybe it's because we are just like actual gamers and we are just in tune with like Reddit, Twitter communities and stuff. But like I genuinely feel like this is my take that I've been thinking about for a bit is that the problem we have on LCS broadcast is we don't have people who actually play the game.
Mm,
So I don't think Letigress or Mark Z or Emily Rand or a good chunk of people actually play League of Legends
yeah.
that much. Maybe they play an ARAM every now and then, right? But I'm talking about like I'm not saying you have to play ranked. I'm not saying you have to be like diamond or anything. I'm not saying you have to be like grinding every day of League after work. But like if you don't put in a couple hours of League every week, right? Learn every
Yeah.
patch, be an actual gamer, I don't think you deserve to be in LCS and I think all the players like can tell. They can feel it. Because
Hmm.
I can feel it. Mark Z, he says it himself that he doesn't play the game ever. He
I
plays
know.
TFT, and I
Yeah.
can tell. And I just like sometimes I just don't care about his analysis because he watches the game and he has a lot of like coaching experience from like maybe 8 to 9 years ago. But
Hmm.
like he is out of tune and out of touch sometimes with how players feel. I don't feel that way about honestly Captain Flowers. He might be in silver, but he plays the game. He's a
Yeah.
Carter one trick. I feel like he knows like what the sentiment is of players. So I if you're gonna I think we do want diversity hires. I think that's healthy for the world or gaming or whatever. I don't know. I don't want
Hmm.
to get too political, right? But like get people who play the game,
Yeah.
you know? Get
Yeah.
people who are actually in the scene and are passionate about League of Legends, not just watch it,
Yeah.
right? So I'm just never gonna be on board with someone like Emily Rand or Mark Z or Letigress because they just don't play the game. Or they don't show that they play the game,
Yeah.
and
I think that's
or they
fair.
they tell
I
you they
think
don't
that's
play the
fair. I mean,
game.
I will say, like, okay, just to push back just a little bit. I agree with everything you're saying, and to Mark's credit and to Emily's credit, yes, they might not have game, like they don't play the game, so they're not in it, but they do have great analytical like diversity. Like I know Mark Z, for example, loves statistics. He's pretty good at statistics, finding the right statistics and communicating that. So he has skills that translate well as far as digesting stuff. And to go to other sports, not everybody who's a caster or analyst is a sports person. Like, you have women who do men's basketball who've never even played women's basketball, and they're still good. So I'm not saying that you have to be an avid gamer to then be qualified to be an analyst or whatever. However, with that said, that is what kind of makes the old school casters kind of endearing to us, like Kobe, like Azale, like Captain Flowers, like you said, who's not even that good. But it doesn't matter. Even Freak, because as much as
And
Freak
Jat too, yeah.
and
All those
Jat, yeah,
guys,
like
yeah.
all of these guys, it's endearing to us as some a base who started off really small in this like grassroots growing like this esport thing. It means a lot when the people who are on air and in the public eye are one of us. And so it means a lot, and that's why I get what you're saying. Like, and so I don't necessarily think that has to be a qualification, but it helps. And I think a lot of the community, what we want is we just want quality. We want people who are passionate about it, who actually put in the work, who love the game, whether watching it, playing it, whatever. And we're just not seeing that. And it's unfortunate that all this vitriol and backlash is happening to the diversity hires. But I think, Kevin, you mentioned it. Like, Riot has to hold them to a high standard so that they do them justice so that they can be good. So, did you have
Yeah.
another thought, Mitchell?
I mean, I don't know. It's just back to like when there's like a TriCast, and it's like a pro player who's
Yeah.
like casting.
Yeah,
I'm just like, dude, this is what we need. Like every
exactly.
time there's not a pro player casting, I'm like, it's okay, I guess it's fine. I'm kind of tuning out. I want to go watch a co-stream. But when there is a pro player casting with
Yeah.
the guys, when I do watch LEC right? And honestly, Vedius, he plays the game a lot. He's like a master tier Nocturne one trick or something. And same with Cadril, he's an ex-pro player. He hits Grandmaster, right? Like these things make everything so much better. And
Yeah.
maybe it's not a qualification now, and I see your reasoning because of other sports and stuff, but maybe it should be because it's so easy to just boot up a game of League of Legends and play, right? You can't really
Yeah.
go play football on your own,
That's
So
true.
I, it's like if you were in this scene, entertainment, very cutthroat, a lot of prestige, a lot of money, blah blah blah, then just play the goddamn game. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
It's so much harder in other industries, but like if you just put in like 10 normal games a week, I will be happy. I will feel like you understand the struggles because you'll probably get really mad at the
Plus,
game.
it's a video game, so it's like it's not like it's hard. It's a video game. Like we're
Yeah,
asking
it's
you to
supposed
play.
be fun, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I speculate that's probably why, and this is a little cynical, but this is probably why pro players weren't invited to broadcast as much because they kind of show up. Like even the ones who have no casting experience, right? Like have no talent for casting, oftentimes are just better than some of the newer casters, especially. Like I think it was either Yankos or Bippo who were on
Yanko's
broadcast.
so good.
Both of them were on broadcast, but I forget
Yeah.
one of them. One of them called like when the team was down 6K gold. They're like, "Dude, this team is winning. This team is in the position to win." And the other caster was like, "What? Like, what are you talking about?" And then
The
like
Blippo did
5
that for
minutes
the
later,
CLG game, yeah.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
5 minutes later, the win happens, and I'm like,
Yeah.
exactly, man. This is what I
Yeah.
want from a caster. I don't
Yeah.
want you to tell me what I can see on screen anymore. I'm sure that's fine for a more like newer viewer, but for me, I'm like, isn't like don't they just outskill? Like, aren't these builds shit? Like, no one like it's so rarely called out because the casters are used to their position, right?
Yeah.
They're used to what works and they can coast. I'm not saying all of them, but at least in that bracket, it was so obvious. I'm like, wow, the pro just like knew. And when
Yeah.
they knew, it was so much more interesting because I'm like, wow, now there's a lot more tension. Because otherwise, I'd be like, oh, they're down 6K. Maybe I'll tune out. Maybe I don't understand. So I'll just, whatever, game's over. Come back. Wait, they lost?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
So
We're getting to a point too. We're getting to a point too where that is possible now because in other sports, again, I'm trying not to do too much comparison, but other sports, it is nice when you have like an ex-player who's on, the cast because they provide insight that us normal people who've never played the game, they can provide that. And we're getting to an age now where all of these people are, retiring or getting older or, who are still kind of on the outskirts of professional play and who can come now on the broadcast and provide that insight. And like both of you, I love it. In fact, I was saying like one of my favorite segments is when Doublelift after the games will just review his games and talk about all the things.
So good.
So good. Like I love it. And so, he's brutally honest with himself and like, and we'll talk about it more, but like why they pick the things they pick and why they draft what they draft. And, even if he's like hates his draft, he talks about it. And so all that insight is valuable to us as viewers. So I think all of that to say is that, again, we've been talking about the broadcast a lot. We wanted to see if there's going to be improvements. They already missed the mark. And so it's a continuing conversation that hopefully at some point, if us three can figure out and, realize that there are just simple fixes that they can do to make it better, hopefully they'll like listen to the community and just like do it. But we'll have to wait and see. Did you guys have any final thoughts on that before we move on to actual LCS?
Yeah, my final thought was that I think the broadcast has improved. First of all, I think it's a lot more interesting. Like I watch a little bit of the stuff in between, and it's like not always bad. And second, I think this does prove, even if it's not a great proof, that they are taking risks. This like model would never get approved in the last couple of years, right? This is way too dangerous. It also shows they probably have an echo chamber in the producer's room and the production room, but I'm okay with this as long. I don't think it was that hurtful, honestly. I think it was like off the mark, but I think they just they really missed, and that's fine as long as they improve. If they do this shit again, like I'm gonna lay into them.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it was kind of a bad move to give it to Letigress. Like you were saying, like give it to like one of the other guys. Like they could take it maybe, right? But like, holy cow, you give it to the non-white girl, and then she does it like a not that great job, and then she wasn't given a great project, and then she just gets absolutely blasted on. So like that is just throwing her under the bus, man. It is so brutal. So I feel bad for her, right? Like
Sure.
I'm of the camp that she's not that great, but I don't want this to happen to her.
Yeah,
at
exactly.
all. It's sad, So LCS, yikes, guys.
I mean,
look, right? They gave you the ship project, and then you get blamed. Wait a minute, where
Yeah,
have I heard this before?
I was gonna say it right now. The LCS game commission. Those two people that Travis like was interviewing. do you think they play League of Legends? Just be honest.
Hell no.
No,
No.
they
No.
do not play League of Legends. That's our problem, guys. I seriously think if you go to like Korea, like dude, the dudes all top down, they probably actually are playing League of Legends to
Yeah.
some extent. I don't know. People who are involved in the game at least. I don't know. Maybe I'm being ridiculous, but it's a whole NA thing. Like people just don't play the game that we're
Yeah.
all involved in. I don't know. Yeah,
So
it's
fun little news thing on that conversation too. Apparently that was re-recorded. They had to take another take. They asked Travis to
Oh,
oh
right.
do another
yeah,
Yeah.
take because
yeah.
the first one was they didn't like the answers or whatever the questions. And I'm like, oh my god,
That's
ew.
terrible.
So
Yeah.
that's not as related to them playing the
Yeah.
game, but it is weird, right? That all
Yeah.
these people involved with it don't play the game anymore.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
need
Whatever.
like some new dude who's like really likes League of Legends. Not even a dude, just like a person who actually likes League of Legends and has the relevant skills to
Yeah.
like lead LCS. Cause like right now
Mm.
it feels like we just have a bunch of dudes in coats like being like
Well,
this.
I mean, and
Doing
that's
this.
why I'm hoping if they transition more pro players into maybe permanent spots, like I wouldn't mind having Whippo there all the time, or other players that are
Rip his
just,
career, but yeah.
or yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean that's the downside.
Yeah, he's not gonna be a player anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be happy to see Whipple all the time. Wait, doesn't that play? Ooh.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Whippo, take one for the team. LCS needs you. So, just
Yeah.
kidding. But yeah. So, anyways, all right. Let's move on to LCS stuff. We'll just start top down. FlyQuest is the only 4-0 team left. Is it already time to start talking undefeated split or
No,
like
no,
okay,
no.
okay,
That's
okay,
time.
let's
There's
not
gonna be a
overblow it then.
huge patch. Like there's a huge patch coming up next, right? We just got to this new huge patch,
Yeah.
13.1b. There's gonna be more big patches down the road. I fully am expecting a mage item rework to happen either before MSI or during MSI. Like I, this split's gonna be so unpredictable. I think for a lot of teams.
Right. I mean,
Going
it
through
is
this.
pretty impressive though the fact that they're 4-0 even still without, they still have Winsome as their support. Again, not to poop on Winsome, sorry Winsome, but it's not their main roster is all I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying? Like and so I let me just get your thoughts on their week, this past, I was going to say weekend, but their games this past week. What were your thoughts on them?
Yeah, until they do their first round robin, I'm not gonna say they're gonna win like everything, in a row. That's just the bare minimum. You got to beat everyone. They actually had a somewhat scrappy game, like a longer game with Golden Guardians, which like
Yeah,
I mean
that
they
was
didn't look like
interesting.
they were ever gonna lose per se, but like Gory's good, like as we kind of expected. Rivers and Elo Hell, as we know, and I think that what we learned was that Spica he is the real deal. Prince is definitely the real deal. Vikla is okay. It's the two very good depending on the game, but I think his average has been very good. And that FlyQuest looks like the best contender so far, but they've only played 4 matches, of which they had 1.5 hard matchups. The C9 win was very impressive. Honestly, I kind of felt like C9 just got absolutely exposed. Like it just felt like, oh, these were the issues they had last year at Worlds, and here they are again. Fudge is picking Fiora and just getting completely giga stomped because when you're playing a good team and you don't know how to play Fiora well, you'll get shown up, right? So I think that FlyQuest looks good. Their drafts are fine, not always good, but like they're better than the average good NA team, and they have the firepower they need. So that this team is so early, they don't even have Ayla yet. So
Yep.
I think it's super exciting. Good on them, and I really hope that Prince continues to show this form because it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean this team is really good. They all have really insane players. I mean Winsome is like the classic, right? My team's insane. I'll just hang out, do my job. Like he did this last year in Cloud9. Remember with Berserker? Exact same
Yeah.
situation. Just chilling. I got the best ADC. I'll just chill, not int, and we'll win everything. Um, the yeah, this team is really good, but I I am nervous about this team because I mean, this is just a classic. I don't know. It's like you have Vikla and you have Prince, and they're clearly super insane, right? They're clearly a step above the other players in the region, and that's just because they came from Korea, playing Korean solo queue and playing Korean scrims all day, all night, right? Eventually, they're going to decline, and I wonder when is it going to happen, and what is that going to look like? When are they going to hit a patch that's going to be not their jam, and things are just going to be too difficult? If the future patch comes out and it's like a tank meta, right? And like, can Ayla slash Winsome play tank melee supports? And then how does Prince look with that? Because it's pretty awesome if you're the best ADC and your support can just play Lulu and just speed you up, and you just go sicko mode on like Lucian or Zeri, right? So, eh. Well, I'm still reserving judgment. I don't know. I'm not gonna say like this team's like winning the split. They're the best team at all. Like C9 gave a terrible draft. Their draft was so bad. I also think that the first pick Caitlyn is really hard to beat in this meta right now. I don't know if like what you're supposed to do on red side against a team that has like all the draft. They can play all the different things that are available in the meta. So they can do the Caitlyn and they can do the ADC bot stuff, right? They had instead of Kate Kalista, they have Kate Lux. It's almost just as good. But then they can also do the Cassante, Gwen, GP stuff in top lane, right? Spica is a very flexible jungler. He can play all the tank junglers, and then Vikla can play both melee and mage supports. They can do everything in this current meta. And so I think it's just really hard to beat from red side. And then Cloud9, they just, I don't know, they kind of pooped themselves trying to beat the first pick Caitlyn, right? They decided to go Jin, completely worthless champion. They went Ashe support, which is I think pretty controversial if you're picking Ashe and you're not hard winning lane. They got pushed in as Ashe, and it's almost like you instantly lose bot lane when you do something like that. So the game is pretty doomed from that point on. And then you pick just a very incoherent top side where your only goal is to T1 stomp them into the first 10 minutes, right? They didn't do that, so they lost. I wish we had best of threes because this was a matchup that I think was pretty interesting in terms of draft, but all we get to see is Cloud9 try the Ooga Booga strat. It doesn't work, and then we have the biggest stomp between our two best teams, right? Very underwhelming to me, honestly.
Right.
So,
Especially because that was a matchup everybody was looking for to see.
yeah,
Um,
they just got Goomba stomped in draft, you know? I
yeah.
mean, like, they didn't, and Cassante is super broken, you know? So, like, they got blue sided, right? They got Caitlyn first pick. They didn't want to blind Cassante because Impact can play Gwen, and they played Fiora instead of Gwen into the Cassante, and they lost super hard. Like, just, they got blue sided. So, yeah, I don't know. This whole weekend was very underwhelming to me because it felt like every game was a stomp besides like one or two. So,
Yeah.
I'm kind of over this meta.
At this point, do you think when Isla does come back, because with the lineup that they do have, and again, Winsome, for all intents and purposes, he's playing his role well. I mean, again, when you have a ADC that's that good, I don't know how much is really being overshadowed, but he's playing well. So, do you break this lineup up when Isla comes, or
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm going to ask you. So
Yeah,
everybody,
yeah,
you both are like,
yeah,
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 it's all
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
All
bring it
right.
back. Yeah,
Okay.
there's Thresh buffs coming in. There's other melee supports coming in. Ayla is just a more of a complete player than Winsome. So
Okay. All right.
yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, let's go to Cloud9 then, because we did kind of talk about their deficiencies. They're still 3-1. Is there any positive things that you saw? Because obviously in the FlyQuest game they were not looking so hot. But are you guys still feeling okay despite that loss with them, or do you think that Mitchell? You mentioned some of their weaknesses exposed with the upcoming changes in the meta. Do you think they'll fare well? But give me your thoughts on C9.
I would say my issues with them don't come from losing to FlyQuest, right? Like you lose to the first place team, that doesn't mean you're shit. That just means
Mm-hmm.
you're second place or worse, right? um, my issue is Diplex didn't look good. He had a good first week, and he's like a very important part of their team. I mean, he's the mid laner, but he just looked like he got outclassed pretty hard. And like we have an issue with our world's competing teams getting outclassed in mid, which is why it's exciting when JoJo plays well, right? Is why it's exciting when we had like more star talent there coming in. We have Vikla now. I think Diplex just didn't look good, and maybe it's just a one-off game, but like he looked so bad in comparison. I was like, well, shit. Even if they're one of our top two teams we send to MSI or top three we send to Worlds, I don't know if he continues to play like that. It's just one matchup. That's bad because Vikla's not the best mid laner from Korea, right? He's not Chovy coming over, right? He's still very good, top four, top five, but that's really bad as a look. Blabber also looked like he lost his mind, but I mean, that
Yeah.
happens sometimes. I'm okay with that. And then yeah, that's all I have to say about C9. I think they are still fine. They'll still probably be top four, top three, but you saw that they are not invincible, and you saw that they have some of the same draft issues they had before. I thought the draft against FlyQuest was like criminally bad.
Oh,
I
it's
honestly,
terrible. It's
right?
like
I
they
looked
thought
at it.
they
I'm
were
like, how did they
T1.
win this game?
No, the only way they win is if they SKT their asses and they're just up like 5K in the first 10 minutes. That's the only way they
Exactly.
win. Like,
Exactly.
and maybe they recognize that because the draft is so doomed. They gave over Caitlyn and they gave over Cassante, but it was like they're doomed.
Hmm.
Uh, to talk about their CLG game, I thought that was pretty interesting. So they did go the Callista ADC. That is the one upside world. Like Sven has gotten so lucky with the metas that he's been support. Okay, the first meta he's in, it's just all enchanters. It's Yumi Lulu just trade offs, right? So free for
Hmm.
him. And then you immediately go into a meta where you can play ADCs. So you can play Ashe, you can play Callista, you can maybe play Caitlyn, right? You can play Jin maybe. And I just thought it was so funny that this is lining up very well for Sven. Um, they actually had a segment where they talked on the desk after their game, and they're talking about the Seraphine Karma response into it,
Mm-hmm.
and they're saying, yeah, it's actually a pretty good response because it's hard to take the turret. And yeah, if you look into the game, C9 actually lost bot turret first. To be fair, they traded on top side, but that's pretty interesting that the Caitlyn Callista lane doesn't take tower against the Seraphine Karma. Seraphine Karma can push back in terms of wave control pretty early on with their Qs, right? They both get like really big AoE Qs level 1. So I think it was, really interesting that this game showcased like the NA special Seraphine Karma can actually work against this weird ass double ADC bot lane. Um, Oh my god, though, but this game felt to me like C9 had like perfect scrim knowledge. So, if you remember the level 1, it Fiora, or what's his name? Fudge on the
Yeah.
Fiora. He
his
goes and
his name is
invades.
Fiora.
Yeah, yeah. He invades Contract's jungle, right? And he dodges the ward that they place on the Raptors, and he paths up and he starts whacking at Contracts at the perfect timing. Like it was like I don't know. It
Hmm.
felt like it was a perfect read from Cloud9, or they had perfect scrim information because there was a point where Wukong had 1 item and Vi had 3 items. Like that is all from that level 1. Like getting denied your red buff, having to base and flash and stuff. That all snowballed. So I think there's a world where I still wasn't a fan of CLG's draft. I think picking the Wukong was pretty bad. Like if enemy team first picks Caitlyn, you don't want to pick Wukong. You want to pick a heavy ganker, someone who can run 3 camp and run bot with CC. So you pick Wukong. You're just asking to get out tempoed in the jungle. But um, the Seraphine Karma was really interesting. I think it's super unlucky that Luger almost flashed over the Vi gank. So like Vi was ganking bot. It was like the 3-man at level 3 versus level 2 players, right? If Luger actually flashes over the Vi Q and they don't die in the gank, it's like CLG almost instantly wins that game. But they both die, and yeah, C9 eventually does end up dying to the turrets later, but the damage is already done, right? They lost the huge wave. Cassante had the TP bot. The tempo was very in favor of C9. So pretty interesting. I talked more about CLG than C9 in this one, but I think it was pretty
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah.
what CLG came up with to try to beat
Yeah.
this weird double ADC bot meta. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we'll dig into them too, because eventually we'll get to them because they started hot CLG and then kind of cooled off. But let's
Hmm.
go to our other 3-in-1 team, EG. Not really much to. It's still hard to kind of get a gauge on them because I had them really high ranked, and then they came out, losing to CLG, who again is inconsistent, so you never know what CLG is going to pick up. But their wins so far have been over like really bottom teams, like Golden Guardians, and then this past week TSM and Dignitas. So it's hard for me to really, make a read on them. I will say that again, I'm a fan of FBI. I think on this team. And I still think Inspired is really good. Jojo, I still think needs to get his bearings. But what are your thoughts on EG?
Yeah, they play. Okay, we gotta start investigating these match schedules because, like, why is their
Yeah,
schedule so incredibly easy?
yeah,
But all those jokes aside, yeah, I said FBI was gonna be very good on this, and some of you guys said I was crazy. Uh,
I never said
so I
you're
feel.
crazy. We
yeah.
just, he's gonna be fine. He's gonna be,
Yeah,
moderate.
No, you're
that's fair.
crazy.
That's fair.
Good,
I'm putting
good
words
at
in his mouth.
laning. Yeah.
He's died like once per game max.
Yeah.
He's been playing really well. I think Yeah, there's some of it's just because there's such a gap, but I think he's been looking a lot better for their early game than Danny, regardless of like all the other assessments.
Mm-hmm.
I do think
Agreed.
his late game potential still looks sketchier. Like, yeah, he's only died once, sure. But there are times where I'm like, does he have like the ability to hyper carry late game against international teams like Danny did at MSI? No, probably not. Not to the same level, right? Um, so I want to see, can EG like shore up those weaknesses elsewhere, right? My only concern for EG, or my major concern, is I don't know why they dropped Impact. Now,
Yeah.
now that I see more Sunday,
No,
like at least
I
this
don't
form
think
Sunday, it looks terrible
I don't think they
comparatively.
dropped Impact. I think Impact saw FlyQuest and was like, I'm out of here, bro. Give me Prince and
Oh,
Vikla. That's
Yeah,
my
that's
guess.
true.
yeah.
That's like, I mean,
That would
I
make sense.
I would want to play with Prince and Vikla, right? So
Yeah.
Hell
that's
yeah.
that's my guess.
FlyQuest is also spending way more money, while EG is like, they just lost one of their star 80 carries, and then they were like, okay, well, now what do we do? And then this is like a, yeah, no, I agree. That could be
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I also think with like Someday and Inspired, remember like last year, like 100 Thieves and EG Spring Split were just running it down all regular season. It's because we're in Spring Split, guys. Regular season, like half of these teams are phoning it in, and actually more than half these teams are maybe phoning it in. Like all these games are so one-sided. They're like EG. My opinion has not changed on EG at all between these two games. Nothing happens. I mean,
Yeah.
they've stopped two crapper teams who barely even tried. So I mean, I don't know. This is my opinion.
I think the only positive, because we had seen a lot of the Varus pick and Jin pick from FBI, and so it was interesting to see him on Lucian. Again, like he's up against Neo Trine, but his Lucian was 9-1-6.
Dude,
It's still not. Yeah,
he built Kraken Slayer
he
and
did.
Essence Reaver and Navora. He's like for funning a normals game. Like
Yeah.
he was so far ahead. His team was so ahead. He just went a for fun build. So it's
Yeah, and
hard for
that's what
me
I
to say
mean.
anything.
It's still that's what I mean. It's still hard to make a read on him, because like a lot of the champs, and yeah, they were ahead so much, so it's like you pick anything, you're gonna win there. But again,
Mhm.
interesting to see him on something other than like the Jin Varus. So we'll have to
Yeah.
see how he moves forward from that. All right, let's move on to our favorite boomer team, 100 Thieves. I mentioned earlier that I like the way Doublelift's playing. I know, Mitchell, you've kind of had some reservations because of who they've been playing against and what Doublelift has been picking. I think, to be fair, or to be, to give credit, in his video, he is kind of talking why they're just picking the Zeri Lulu. I mean, if it's up there, it's it's a free win, I guess. So but yeah, he got a quadra again. Like, you could chalk it up to whatever. But for
Should have been a
me,
penta.
should have been a penta. You're right.
Should have
He
been a
should have been a
penta.
penta. But
But
I'm
well,
excited to see him do well. Again, I love his content. So for me, this team has a secret special place in my heart, and they might not be the number one team I'm rooting for, but I'm still rooting for them. So what were your thoughts on 100 Thieves this weekend? Or
So
this
I
week?
got an angle for you guys, maybe a throwback. Doublelift is coming back into the league after being looked down upon, and he's going up against an SKT 80 carry in the league, who everyone says is better than him. So far, I think Double has proven to be a at least third place, fourth place 80 carry in the league, and he just needs to actually play a really good game against Berserker and Prince to actually prove it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited, right? Because at the very least, he looks way more competent than the people who've been just grinding for years now. While he was gone. So that's good. He looked way better this week than compared to week one. So I feel like he got a little bit of that rust off. And I think more importantly, him and Boostio looked better together, because like that's kind of that's the package deal. I mean, that also might be because they didn't have a zero support. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I'm okay with them trying that shit. It's fine. They did, lose, but I think that's good. My concern with the team is that Bjergsen looks fine. They have already pulled out the Zillion card. That's concerning. But
yeah.
the rest of the team looks pretty okay. If Closer gets into a good meta for him with the next big patch change, which is kind of unfortunate for the league, because that cyber attack, the social engineer cyber attack
Mm-hmm.
against Riot, like really screwed up patch timings and just like screwed up everything, because like we've been stuck in this meta for way too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for the next patch that actually changes competitive.
Yeah. I mean, 100 Thieves. They played against two dumpster teams. My opinion has barely changed on them.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Doublelift is smurfing on these really crappy teams, playing Zeri Lulu. Okay, he's not bad. He's fine. I have no opinion on him whether he's I'm not even gonna say he's top 3, top 4. I don't have a ranking for him. I think Berserker and Prince have proven themselves. Nobody else has. That's it. Um,
Mm,
so Doublelift, whatever. Buzio, whatever. Bjergsen, very clear. He is terrible on melee mids, but he's very good on range mids. No surprise there. He was very aggressive on the Azir, roaming a lot, which is I think cool, I guess. But once again, playing against a dumpster ass team, very easy to have confidence and roam around because you're not going to get punished, right? Oh, I gave a whole wave and a plate to my enemy mid laner. Oh, but it's TSM, so who cares, right? Um,
Yeah.
closer. This is not his meta at all. Oh my god, his Vi was atrocious.
Oh, that was so funny, man.
So bad. I mean, it was funny, but like, I think closer's
It's so
probably
bad.
it's so bad, dude. His vibe was missing everything. Like he's just like ulting Sejuani, man, and like they're lucky they're ahead. But I actually think like closer's probably their best player, but he's also their most like narrow player too. Like they're gonna if they get to a point where like let's say they're in playoffs, right? And like they can't just like outman you in like EDC and mid, right? And tenacity is nothing special yet either. The game's always going to ride on closer, and that has just been a 100 Thieves problem, right? If closer is not, it's not a closer meta, and he's not 1v9 carrying you, then you're not winning the finals. You'll get two finals, but then you get 3-0'd because closer he can't clutch things out for your team, and it really feels like it's the same thing. And I wonder if it's just a closer problem. I might. It's sad. Love closer. He's such a sick player on Viego, on Lee Sin, on so many dudes. But you stick him on Sejuani, Vi, Wukong, Trundle, blah blah blah. Very underwhelming. So I worry about this team in the future for those guys, for him specifically, because like it's like it's like Svenskeren, right? Remember when Svenskeren they joined the league? He was Lee Sin, he was Graves, he was killing everybody, and then he turned into a Sejuani bot, and then TSM slowly started to just not be a thing, just like with Bjergsen and Double F2. So I'm
Yeah.
really afraid the same thing's gonna happen. I hope that they don't win the league like that, right? If closer looks like ass on Sejuani, but they still win the league because Bjergsen
Hmm.
and Doublelift are dragging this corpse over, they're gonna get exposed so hard internationally, and I
Right.
just I just hope that doesn't happen. I mean, the real dream is that closer gets good at Sejuani. It's just not that hard of a champion.
Yeah.
I
That's
mean, he's
true.
been through enough Sejuani metas that I don't believe that that's very likely. However, I would actually say it's not as big of an issue that he has that downside, because to me, as long as he has enough upside to be able to win like important games at Worlds, like Worlds has always been a do you meta coin flip, right? And the problem is with NA is even when we coin flip into our meta where we like decided the meta or something, we're still not good enough,
Yeah,
and then people catch up. So if Closer
they
goes
take
to
it.
Worlds or MSI and it's his meta, I'm happy, right? And if he
Oh
doesn't,
yeah.
who cares? I don't give a shit. Okay, because I would rather coin flip enough to make something happen, make a miracle run like Liquid to MSI finals, than just be consistent. I'm done just going. We're not gonna win on consistency, guys. We're not gonna
Yeah.
win being the
Well,
overall best hands.
see, but the problem is I have with that idea is when you show me a jungler like Spica who can clearly play both, then it's just the value that closer has is just not as much as Spica. So I guess that's my argument against that idea. Like, sure, like consistency versus high highs, low lows, right? The high
Mm-hmm.
highs, low lows is probably going to beat the is probably going to high roll against a better team. But what if you just have a higher consistent player? I honestly think Spica is just better and almost for so far what we've seen is just better than what closer has to offer. Slightly, I mean, God, Spica was so clutch on TSM, like playing just like random ass carries. Like remember his Xin Jiao just like 1v9ing like ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
I do think Spica is showing what it is to be able to play all the tanks, Sejuani, Maokai, Mumu even, and then also still play carries, Lee Sin, Xin Jiao, blah blah blah. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
it can
agree.
be
I'm not
done.
saying, but I'm just saying, not everyone can be Spica, right? Not everyone can be our best players in every role. So what I'm saying is, it's not a problem to have a big flaw. It's like if he can hit high, then yeah, I'm fine with him because if he hits high, he wins playoffs, and then if that meta continues, they do well. Now, obviously, I would just clone the best of our players in every goddamn team that
Yeah,
I could, but I can't do that.
I just want closer to like not look like a monkey on these super easy champions. I guess that's my real complaint. Like I'm
That's a
just
great point, though. How
just
can
it's
you be so
so
good at
easy.
hard characters and then be so bad at good easy characters? Like,
Dude,
am I
he's
missing
Vi.
something here?
Oh my god,
It's a
dude. You just
conundrum,
can't
man.
hit anything. I don't
It's the
know. It's
mystery.
so painful,
They're
bro.
so easy, dude. The characters are so simple. I play
Yeah.
by.
All
Yeah.
right, let's move on to Team Liquid, our favorite team. Just kidding. But hey, look, they got two easy teams. They bounced back, got the wins. They needed to get the wins. I'm convinced. I mean, I've kind of been convinced, and we've been
You're
talking about this.
convinced.
I'm pretty convinced that Core can just not play enchanters. It's like
Oh
even
yeah. Okay, there you go. Yeah.
his Sona is just crazy bad. Like there was a time, like I forget what fight it was, but he literally held on to his ult the whole fight and did not use it. And I'm like, bro, I had to like rewind it. I was like, tell me he used his ult. Please tell me he used his ult. And he did not use his ult, which is super powerful. I think here's my theory on him is that with enchanters, because a lot of it is like protecting and peeling and doing all that stuff, he holds it to wait for like the very possible moment because I think he wants to be able to engage with it. Like I think with Sona, he's only looking to make an engage with that ult. With Nami, it seems like his ults for the wave are yes, it can be used to peel, but I think he'd rather use it to engage somebody. And I think that's why he's so good on engaged champs. His button, his thing that makes him good is his instinct to go. But when it's playing back and playing slow and like keeping your carry alive and using the spells, at the proper time, I think that's where he may have a little bit of struggle. So that's my only rant on them. I mean, look, they got the 2 wins. Summit still inting his way, still TP in 1v5. But hey, look, that's Summit. I don't know what's going to be happening there, but let me get your thoughts on Team Liquid.
Yeah. So thoughts on Team Liquid? Jan is legit.
Yeah.
The Sona game wasn't great from Corp, but like they smashed tactical fleshy. Like I mean, it's not
sure.
that's like probably one of the worst spot lanes in the league, but they smashed them, right? And that's good.
Yeah.
At the very least, that's good. I am definitely on the same boat with Core. His enchanter play, like he just cannot carry with it. He can't do even more than like the average enchanter in our league, which is a problem.
Mhm.
But I saw the patch notes, man. Every friggin' melee
Exactly.
that we want to play, he's getting
Yep.
buffed. I'm like, all right, let's go. I can't wait.
He's salivating right now.
Other than that, Harry, this is week 2. I'm concerned. He does have some mechanics and there are some hands there, but he definitely has like weird builds, weird decision making. Like he'll do well in the early game against in trades. I'm like, oh, he can hang and then just get caught. And so this is like the rookie issue. I don't know if he'll grow. Honestly, the issue with if you don't show that talent and that instinct early, it's hard to develop in any, right? So that's where I'm concerned. Joshik was fine. And then Summit, I think he actually played a good early game in the second game against Golden Guardians. Like he was doing well. He was coordinating with Pioshik. He was smashing. It was what we get this guy for. But oh my god, like I feel like I understood why this guy was put on this team now. But then he did that teleport into the middle of 5 people, and I was just like, God damn it, dude! Like, what is this shit? Like, what do you see that we don't see, man? He wants to be the shy.
Yeah, man. He thinks he's the shy.
Exactly,
That's
right?
what it is. It's like so
his
bad.
Renekton game, there was a Mark B did a blame game on it, a good one about his Renekton game. I understood like all the individual plays he was going for, and like it wasn't literally that he was into. He had thoughts in his mind. The problem is he consistently has the wrong instinct. Like he misses too many of these coin flips, right? In a row where you're like, okay, yes, you had a plan, and I do see where you were going with it, but it was stupid. So stop, dude. Like, if this guy can't be coached to be good, I want him to be dropped. But if he can't be good, coached to be good, I know why he's on this team. So they made a gamble on him. I do get what he's there for after that Aatrox game, but I also am like, dude, this guy's still the same. Like, unless Pioshik is like, they needed a better jungler, unironically, to make this guy work. Like, you needed like a Spica who could like camp the shit out of him or something like that. And they got another inconsistent jungler to get the most consistent top laner in the league.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Summit, man. It's like he does not know how to play with a jungler. He doesn't know how to play like dude, this guy must be the freest gank in solo queue, dude. Like, oh my god. He doesn't ward. He doesn't think about where the jungle is pathing at all. Like, dude, in the Renekton game, like it is so obvious that Revenge is posturing for a gank, and he's just running up there, and he's like, "I'm ready to die. I could run away. I could E back. No, I'm going in, brother. I'm flying in, and we're gonna give some kills to this Kasance." I don't know, man. I'm super over Summit. Like it's been 2 weeks, but the dude is running it down so hard. I like if the meta shifts ever to where junglers are actually relevant and you can play carry junglers and he's just feeding like a Graves or something, it's gonna be so hard to play the game because that's exactly what happened last year on Cloud9. The meta shift, Closer played Lee Sin, camped the crap out of him, and Closer got super fed on Lee Sin and just killing everybody. If you're just such a free gank for the jungler and you just feed them money, it's like so bad. The only reason why it's fine now is because the jungler doesn't matter if you give them kills. They're so like they're all tanky and they're all like engagers. So I'm over that guy. I don't know, man. Summit's not it. Harry, yeah, he just monkeys out. I feel like he does have good mechanics, but like he just like spazzes out and does something weird.
Mm-hmm.
Leon, he's all right. He's kind of like he's got that weird cocky vibe that you kind of like, but then you kind of like messes up a little bit and you're like, kind of a bad look. But then he does something good and you're like, okay. So I see like an inconsistent version of like a hype ADC in him. Maybe it'll pop up. And then I was actually thinking in the Immortals game when Corey J was on Sona because they took away the Nami. I was like, Corey J is secretly really happy they took Nami away from him. He's like, I don't
Yeah.
have to play Nami. I don't have to play this shit. Let's go.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really funny. He did look great on Sona, but whatever. The champ. I mean, if you're the better team, champ's broken.
Yeah.
His Blitzcrank was really funny, but you could tell in that second game with like it was a scrim game. Like they were just fighting like random ass like stuff. Like Golden Guardians was opting into it too. They're like, let's YOLO fight just over and over
Yeah.
again, push it to the limit. Like it looked like a scrim game for sure. And then yeah, I think Team Liquid's gonna win those kind of games where it's just like all mechanics, no brain sort of stuff. But I am not convinced on this team at all. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like they should have dumpster these two teams and they did not dumpster either of them. It was like
Yeah.
rough.
So
So
I would say they dumpstered Immortals. It was a 26-minute game.
yeah, but like dude, Summit is just giving free I mean, I maybe like it's in between dumpster and like a solid game, right? Like
Okay,
they
fair.
like Summit is just running it down and it's such a free game. Like he's giving them the only way they can lose. Give a super broken ass champ like Asante a bunch of kills. Like that's the only way they lose. And he
Yeah.
was doing it. And I was like, oh my god, dude. Summit's gonna throw this game for TL. They're gonna lose to
Yeah.
Immortals. Please don't make it happen. So
I think I think too, like I don't know if it's because of like that mentality that they have. Like if they are playing a weaker team, sometimes teams, not to say that they're good, but good teams will play, down a level, even if,
yeah.
like, so you're right. Like, yeah, they could probably dumpster them probably, but maybe they're like, whatever, let's ego it and try some stuff. But, I don't know if that's the case. They might actually just be bad because it's really hard to tell because that's what I'm saying.
They haven't proven to
They
us
haven't,
good
yes,
yet.
exactly.
Like, good teams
we don't know.
that go down to the level. I could be like, okay, you're kind of phoning
Yeah.
it in. This team, I cannot.
We
say
don't
that
know.
yet.
Yeah, we don't know
We
yet.
haven't seen
Exactly.
them be really solid yet.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. It's still hard to tell with them. But let's go to CLG and TSM. So I want to group those two because they started off 2-0 and then this week did the reverse 0-2. To TSM's credit, I know they aren't the best team. I think they have like I forget what show I was listening to. Maybe it's The Dive or something where they have the most time spent being behind. Yeah. So they're not good. I will the only credit I'll give them is they have played hard teams. All other teams have been pretty difficult, right? So they lost to CLG, also lost to. So what are your thoughts on both of them this past week?
I mean, we didn't ever think they would beat EG in 100 Thieves. Maybe 100 Thieves on a bad day, but like.
Oh, I predicted they were gonna be 100 Thieves for the memes. I got that so wrong.
That's fair. For the memes, I respect that.
Yeah.
Okay.
They look like where we expect them to be. It doesn't look like there's going to be some miracle TSM resurgence, but they're also going to look fairly competent. Like they looked worse, but they didn't look hopeless. Like last year, at certain points during when they were like hovering between 10th and 9th, this team just looked hopeless. It looked like it was unwinnable. The second they added Solo, they looked like they had some chance, and they added Maple. Yeah, like he's competent. And that's fine. They have pieces. The problem is there's just not enough firepower. Like they could hit their ceiling and they would not get top 3, right? So they're not going to mean anything in this league. That's the problem. Their ceiling is too low.
Yeah.
But it's fine. This is fine for an org like TSM that's trying to be low key, trying to slowly build back trust, trying to slowly gain players. Like they need a foundation, right? If their foundation is solo maple, maybe Boogie's good. That's fine. They need a bot lane though. If they want to compete, they need a bot lane.
they
Yeah.
don't have a bot lane. They have like just an irrelevant bot lane. They're so useless.
They're
Oh my
just
god.
there.
They're just there, just giving free gold away, losing lane, hanging out. It's terrible. Yeah, this team is like one of those teams that they have solid macro in the late game, and then they're just gonna pick scaling. And if you don't like, if you're not good enough, they'll just win because their comp is better in the late game. That's what happened last week, right? The enemy teams they're playing just not solid enough, not consistent. So they just played scaling and they won. But if you are just a good team and you can push the tempo early, TSM will just crumble. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, what was the TSM 100 Thieves score? It was 20-2, man. What was it? 18-7 versus EG. Like they just got steamrolled so hard. Um, yeah, CLG on the other hand, I do think rough week, but they had a really interesting show against C9. Like I already talked about it, right?
Mhm.
Good ideas, sort of. Just really unlucky level 1 that kind of just ruined the game for them. They didn't really
Mhm.
get to show how interesting their comp was. What was the other CLG game? I don't even remember.
They
played
played
against Immortal.
Mortals, yeah.
They lost to
Yeah,
Immortals?
They did.
Did
I
I
was
miss
surprised you
that?
didn't mention that first.
Oh my god.
They
Yeah.
didn't
Let me
just lose; they got like giga clapped. It was like 7-7.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. Oh yeah. Palafox's Aurelia was really bad. That was one of those. They're cooking too much. They're cooking way too much. He cannot. He missed every ulti. Like that was painful to watch. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah. Well,
So does your thoughts change then? Because you're like,
CLG's cooking early in the split. I still think they'll make a decent run in playoffs. Yeah, they definitely they're like phoning it in early. I feel like it. They're cooking these weird drafts. They're just kind of like throwing stuff out there. Like Dokla and I don't know. Dokla in week 1 was phoning it in too. So
Mhm.
we'll see how it go. Yeah.
Well, see,
I'm not too worried about them.
I think that's why they're the hardest team when we do the predictions and stuff because they're coin flippy. Like I can't get a read on them. They sometimes they seem like they're really good and they're on the up and up, and then other times they phone it in, right? And so I don't know, is it because of issues or did it have an off week? It's still very hard for me to figure them out. Like, and that's why every time I see a matchup, no matter who they're playing, I'm like, I don't know. They could win this. They could also lose this. So it's very tough to kind of get a read on them. And that's still where I am. But, let's just group the bottom 3 now. Immortals, Golden Guardians, Dignitas. Immortals did get that one win against CLG. Golden Guardians and Dignitas look like poop. So I'm, just throwing them all in the same group. Do you guys have any thoughts on them? It's sad to say, but is there anything about them that you want to talk about? Is there anything good?
Yeah, there is. First of all, they should get relegated. They actually can make talent look worse.
I thought you said good.
No, I
You're
have
like,
good
they
things
should
to say
get
about
relegated.
Golden Guardians.
Okay.
Golden
All right,
Guardians
all
had the
right.
hardest schedule on Earth. They went
Okay.
against
Yeah, they looked
EGC9,
alright.
Team Liquid, FlyQuest, right? And they
Yeah.
actually looked like they could win at least 1 or 2 of them. Like, obviously, they weren't going to win, but they at least had looks with life. Gory looks decent.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
more importantly, Gory and River look decent. I already mentioned this earlier.
True.
Like, this team isn't bad. This team just had the worst schedule. They played against the top 4 or 5, maybe, power ranked teams in a row. Once again, I'm asking, how do some teams get such super easy schedules?
I know, right?
And
Yeah.
GGS is like, we made a somewhat usable team, right? Like, I'm not saying Stixay's a star. I'm not saying that Huhi's a star, but they look competent. The only person who needs to leave this team for sure is Licorice right now. Right?
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
I
He's got
have
it.
So
nice
bad.
things to say about everyone else, and then Licorice comes in and just gets giga stop. Like he looks like how Summit is blind to ganks. Licorice is blind to everything. Like he just does not do anything for most of the games, right? So this team is gonna do fine. They just had a terrible start. As long as their mental holds up, this team is still like solidly 8th in my mind. Like they have some skill and like River is good. So as long as they have junglers they can play and Gory like shows up, which he has been, they will do fine. They just had the hardest schedule possible. Like I don't get how this is even possible. On the other end, Dignitas made really good players historically. Like Jensen and Santorin are some of the most valuable players in our league because they are native talents who have always had good records, right? And they made them look like ass, like absolute trash. And like partially it is their fault. You have to take some responsibility. But like there's no way you're telling me Arma, Jensen, and Santorin are this terrible. Like Arma is bad, right? but he's not like 10th place bad. He's like 7th place bad top laner, okay? And he doesn't even show that. So whatever Dignitas is doing, they're like literally telling these guys to int for match fixing. Like I don't know what's going on, but these were the worst couple weeks. I have no praise for this team.
Oh
So they
yeah.
need to show up. I have
They-
they oh Spawn also needs to go back to academy. He is not ready. This guy got capped by Prince so hard that I felt like they needed to censor the stream.
yeah,
Close
preach it,
your eyes.
man. Oh my god. I mean, Golden Guardians. Honestly, I had a fun little thought. What if Solo was on Golden Guardians versus Liquid? Because Liquid is just ass. Like, let's be real.
Mhm.
Solo, very consistent, not that great, but very consistent. Won't inch the top lane. That's all. Like, I feel like Golden Guardians to like be like separate themselves from the bottom of the pack. They just need Licorice to not be such a vacuum up there. Like, God, he just sucks up so many resources and like loses them so much where every time he dies. And he's just such a whiffer too. Like, I don't know what happened with Licorice, man. He left Cloud9 and he just crashed and burned. But
Mhm.
yeah, they need some consistency up there. So Golden Guardians is kind of interesting. The Stixie Huhi lane is kind of funny. It's like a CLG reunion from like 2016. That was a long time ago, but it's kind of cool. They
Mhm.
they look like boomers, but they're not the worst thing in the world. Dignitas, yeah, is really bad. I don't know, just like get rid of the org. We were talking about relegations in the chat, and like they're prime candidates. They have
Yeah.
been bad for like ever, just like since their existence in LCS like 10 years ago. They've just always been bad.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm done with his org. And I don't know. I thought it was funny that Jensen he played the Victor counter pick into his Azir matchup, and every single game he got his flash blown, and then he just got farmed by Azir over and over again. I'm like, how do you not learn? This was like a thing, like not even last year, like 2 years ago. 2 years ago, people were playing Azir into Victor and just farming the Victor over and over again because you just burn his flash, you get your jungler to trade flash, and that's a free kill for Azir once he hits 6.
Yeah.
It's the same things happen over and over again. You just don't. I don't know, man. The only person who didn't run it down into that matchup was Vikla, and that's because his whole team was dumpstering so hard that you couldn't kill him. I guess I don't know. He even died still. He still died to a gank in mid lane. So I'm just not a fan of this Victor into Azir matchup. You just get farmed. It's just not fun. It's not a good matchup. So, but yeah, we gotta get rid of Dignitas. They are not good.
All
They're
right.
not
Bad.
just not good. They make team players worse. They end
Yeah.
Yeah.
people's careers. That's what pisses me off.
Because
They
this
always
lineup,
get players and they just get worse.
I mean, when we did our power rankings, like I did not have them, and they're definitely a 10th place team. But boy, was I tricked because I mean, the talent on there again, while not top notch, like is respectable. Like it just looks really trash. So I agree. There's got to be something in the organization side because the talent on there is better than that. So it's
Yeah. Just the idea of signing Armit is just like, oh, you don't know what you're doing. You have no idea what you're fucking doing at all. So
just
I mean,
trying to
they
get
signed Blue
names.
before too. Actually, I wanted to get into this. They have a coach who was TCL before. I'm pretty sure he's just signing people he used to have in TCL, which
Mm,
oh
Armit
yeah.
was. I think
Hmm.
Armit was in TCL. Blue was definitely in TCL. And I'm just like, dude, do you like? How many times are we gonna miss before we're like, bro, come on
yeah.
now, can we
Yeah.
not? Because remember that one dude, Ayla, no,
I
Ika,
Ica.
Ika.
Yeah.
Ika from French League. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I get favoring your regional talent because Takui did work out, right? But
Yeah.
like, you need to like objectively rate these players. You can't just keep screwing up and then Dignitas keeps you on staff for this long. Like Blue wasn't terrible, but he was like not good, and you
Mm,
can't keep spending money and screwing up your rosters this badly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Who hires Arma like as your import? As your import, if you get Jensen Santorin and you get 2 import slots, is it really Armut the guy you want?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. The guy's
And
Good
bad.
point.
Ignar's not gonna fix the team enough. I think
Yeah.
that's their support, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he'll be their support eventually. No, he's not going to fix the team. I mean, you could tell just in Santorin and Jensen's play, they have given up on life. They have foregone everything. Santorin is like, um, I think what's his face? Doublelift said it in his video, right? Like they're in bot lane, they're dropping Rift Herald. Santorin's there, and he just recalls and lets his bot lane die. Like it's just like you're just phoning it in, man. You just don't give an F. And
Yeah.
then Jensen is just walking up to, okay. So you remember how I was saying like you get your flash bonus Victor, right? And then the Zir, he can go in and shuffle flash you and then you die. Like he was dying and Bjergsen wasn't even flashing. So that means you're just getting EQ ulted by Azir. But like, I don't know, man. You're not playing the game. You're just dying for fun. And it's
Yeah.
very sad, guys. Poor Jensen, poor Santorin. I think this might be the end of their careers. It's gonna
Yeah,
be sad. Like,
it
who's
is
gonna want to
sad.
sign them after, right? Everyone's talking about all these new imports they got, Vikla and Prince,
Yeah.
signing Korean challengers, Korean upstarts, and then they don't want to pay the salaries for these guys, right? They just had a bad year. Like, this might be the end of their careers, man. This could be really sad.
Yeah.
But
Well, to end
yeah.
on that negative note, let's. Do you guys have any final thoughts or want to talk about anything meta? Because that is the LCS. I know that it's kind of always doom and gloom to end on like the bottom really bad teams, but we don't want to start with them either. So we got to talk about them someplace. So, but any final thoughts or meta stuff that you guys want to mention before we wrap up?
Yeah, I got some stuff. I'm really excited for the new patches to come because they're gonna change the meta a lot. I do think we could sit on this patch for a while and things would change a lot because the 13.1b that we have, it was live this weekend
Yeah.
and nothing really changed much because teams just didn't have enough time to do
Right.
anything different. So the entire meta was the same. I would be interested to see like, what if we gave teams like weeks and weeks to practice on this one patch, see what they come up with, but we just don't have that and I'm okay just moving past it. Give
Yeah.
me a new patch, give me a new meta. Um the we are in a really funny state where Spica can pick a Mumu because jungle resources are so terrible and jungle catch-up is so strong that like there's no point in counter juggling. There's no point in picking
Yeah.
like then creating a jungle strategy to punish the Amumu. So when you're in a world like that, yeah, no shit, people are just gonna three camp
It's
and
true.
gank bot, and
Mm-hmm.
then they don't. The gank doesn't work. You just sit in river till scuttle spawns. You take the scuttle and then you gank bot again. So it's kind of funny how the world has turned out like this. And I think that the stars really lined up for FlyQuest, dude. Like the stars lined up perfectly. They got the all you can eat jungler Spica, and then you got the best ADC. Like it's kind of hilarious that everything just
Yeah.
worked out for them. Um,
Especially if
yeah,
the meta starts becoming more bot focused too.
yeah. I mean, if engaged supports come back and then you can actually roam,
Mm-hmm.
I expect TL to do better. I kind of want them to get rid of Summit now. Is that weird? Like I want them to get rid of Summit now and they can like focus on a new top laner so that
Yeah.
when engaged supports buffs do come in, TL could actually go for first place. Instead of like, okay, we're in a good meta, but our top laner keeps inting, so we're just like handicapped. Like
Right.
that's what I'm afraid is gonna happen to TL. They're just gonna be handicapped as their top laner. So
They need to figure it out like now. Either they get rid of them or they have a hard conversation with them and be like, dude, we've got to fix this. So either you
dude,
start
yeah.
warding or something. Like something's got to
Well,
change.
my take is that when Core gets his engaged support meta, he's just gonna camp Summit to like
Yeah.
high heaven. He's famous for just carrying his top laners like early games by just ganking at random times, and they're gonna crutch on that. And if they don't get that meta for like a really important best of five, they're gonna look like garbage. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that's how I feel like it's gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
their
think
master
it's
plan.
I don't think it's something you can fix with Summit, man. It's like I feel like he's just holding spacebar. He doesn't use his F keys. He doesn't move his map. Does he have map cover on? Does he think he's like streaming in solo queue? I swear to God, this guy covered his own map for himself.
He's like those
Um,
Nasus top laners who only have one lane they can see, but he does that with every character.
Every
yeah, he does that
character.
with
Yeah.
every character. Like I would love it if like what if they should just make Summit play like 50 games of jungle and like 50 games of support. Like just make him do it. To be like, okay, do you
Yeah, sub him
understand
in
there
for
are
their
five
academy jungle.
people?
Make him play it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like seriously, like just throw him in the jungle, throw him in support, make him understand the map, because he just doesn't understand how like anything but laning works at all.
Yeah.
It's so weird, man. It's such a weird thing. Um, I mean, I will still always remember it was against 100 Thieves. It was last year C9 Spring in the playoffs, and he's like 0-7-0 on Renekton. And Fudge is on Rise, and he TPs the 0-7-0 Renekton into the backline. He's all big, he's all dominant. He flash stuns, and immediately dies. It was so funny.
Yeah.
It's just the 0-7-0 Renekton, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
All
dude,
right.
where's the positive note? Where's the positive?
I
I got.
have a positive
All
note.
right, you
I
go
think
for it.
that y'all should check out LEC. I think their format has been awesome. Like it's been
it's
so
so
exciting.
dope.
Every
Yeah.
week has been exciting. It's week 3 and they're going to playoffs next week, and it was
That's
so
awesome.
sick. Some of the
Yeah.
greatest match, like Astralis had a good match. BDS had exciting matches because like these shitter teams were like, oh, we're gonna get eliminated, and then this is a positive note for me. Fnatic got eliminated. They went 2-7. Humanoid was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be a shitter during regular season. Regular season doesn't matter." He didn't get the memo. His season's
You didn't
over.
get the memo.
Like,
Yeah.
I feel bad for Reckless because I feel like he should have a chance to turn back his career. He didn't play great, but I didn't think he was the worst player. I think Humanoid was in Razork were like insanely bad. But you
Yeah.
should watch LEC. LEC and LCS, they're on different days, so you can watch all of them. I love this new format. I have 5 days a week. I have gameplay, and in 2 days I can rest. It is perfect for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty awesome. Okay, you brought up Fnatic. Now I have to say something a little bit. Okay, like Reckless, did you guys see? It was like their last game of the split where like they it's the classic 3-man dive bot at like level 3 versus level 2 like bot lanes, right? Because they get the shove in first. Reckless is level 1 and he just leaves. He's like, I'm just gone, and he goes and he hides way back to his second tier turret. That is not the right play. Oh my god, you should just die. Like just die for the wave. Just go for the wave, try to get level 2 and die. Because he gives it up and he's down like 20 CS or something, like level 1 to level 3. I thought that was funny. I mean,
That was funny. The
I think he
screenshot was
just gave up.
beautiful.
He just gave like that whole team just completely gave up. Oh my god. Yeah. So thank
All right.
God they got eliminated.
Well, it's sad when like our LCS podcast like has to mention how good the LEC is doing, because it's something that we want like for our own region, talking about formats.
I want the format so bad,
Yeah,
dude.
we want
Oh my god.
I mean, can you imagine that?
I
Like
want
the
LCS to
hype.
Look at how popular that is. And
Yes.
how good it is, and just implement it. Like
Do
next
it next. Just do it right now. I don't care. Just do it right now. Get Dignitas and Immortals out of my like watch history. Just get
Figure
them
out the
right now.
details. Figure out the details later. Just do it. Just start.
Do it right now.
Just do it right now.
Just write a tweet and say we have decided to eliminate Dignitas and Immortals.
Yeah.
No,
No,
you don't
no
have
harm.
to explain yourself.
I'm
Just
not taking
move on.
questions.
Honestly, who actually is watching those matches? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the viewership dropping to? Because that's what I mean. Okay, I'm not gonna go onto another tangent here because we do have to wrap it up. But I will just say this is one of those things, Mitchell, that you were saying. It seems like we have the simple solutions here, and we've been begging for format changes, and it's obviously working in other regions. We just refuse for some reason to do it here in the LCS. So again, I'm gonna end on that angry note, not negative, just angry. Maybe it's negative, but it's an angry note saying, "Come on, Riot, we need a change." But that's gonna do it for us. That's gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much to my awesome co-hosts Kevin and Mitchell for always sharing their wise thoughts. But until next time, enjoy your climb on the rift. Try not to be too toxic, and we'll see you all on the next episode. Peace.